All right, this is Bob. The second recording yesterday did not work very well, so I am going to re record parts of this. So, thank you yesterday for your patience, online students. It's a little difficult teaching hybrid, which means that I have to deal with both of you guys and with only one monitor, really. I wasn't able to check the chats, okay? So, and nor do you guys really respond or let me know when the recording's not working well. So I'm going to re record parts of this. We're just going to focus on Lars chapter 8, prehistory. Okay. So we talked about this, the timeline. Okay. 2.5 million years ago, 12,000 years ago, humans hunted for food and primarily ate meat. That's Paleolithic. Okay. People began to eat wheat and other grains. Neolithic. Okay, so remember, neo means new, paleo means old, lith means stone. Humans lived in permanent settlements. Okay, so they started to settle down. This is the start of agriculture, right? So that word that I was trying to get them to learn yesterday, agriculture. It's the study or the practice of what's it called? Growing things, crops. Humans began to cook their food. Began is the key word, Paleolithic, okay? And we watched some of these videos. I'll send you these videos, okay? I think this one's good, how dogs eventually became our best friends. The difference between dogs and wolves, I think it was good, except there's that AI voice, that robot, I don't like. And yeah, I don't know. Don't love this theme this week, but I guess it's okay. Thousands of years ago, human beings dreamed about animals as protectors and allies, even as the ancestors of their clans. You can see this in a lot of native or indigenous peoples. Why do you think animals have this important place in the human imagination? Do you know any myths about wolves? Lots of myths about wolves, you know? Story tales, fairy tales. Not story tales, fairy tales. Um, Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf was always seen as this enemy, right? Other cultures might see the wolf as their protector or their totem animal. Do you think there's a special bond between dogs and man? Can you describe it? Why we say that dogs are man's best friend? Do you have a pet? Would you like to have a pet? What pets, if any, are popular with people you know? Dogs and cats, of course. Okay, then we talked about the difference between dogs and cats, dogs and wolves. And we looked at this picture. You can see that our modern dog is very different from the wolf, but a long time ago, that wasn't such the case. Dogs looked more similar to wolves, right? And as they've evolved and changed, and we've bred them, we've selected them for different reasons, right? So we select our animals based on our needs. We talked about that a little yesterday. I'll give you some examples because I do love talking about history. So I'm gonna do this reading. Um, I'll do it right now, right here, so you guys can watch at home. I'm not gonna do that videos that I usually do. Those I feel I have to get perfect. These are okay. We can stop and discuss the reading. More Than Man's Best Friend by Jared A. Lobo and Eric A. Powell, Archaeology. Today, there are some 77 million dogs in the United States alone. But 20,000 years ago, it's possible there wasn't a single animal on the planet that looked like today's Canis lupus familiaris. All scientists today accept the fact that dogs descend from the gray wolf, Canis lupus, but biologists and archaeologists still debate when, where, and how gray wolves first evolved into dogs. Were the dogs first domesticated in China, the Middle East, or possibly Africa? The answers are important since dogs were the first animals to be tamed by man. They probably played an important role in what is called the Neolithic Revolution, the time when human beings began to settle down in permanent homes and grow their own food instead of wandering around from place to place as they did in the Paleolithic era. What is it that tells us this animal is a dog and that one is a wolf? Modern wolves and dogs can be easily identified by their appearance. The most important difference is in the snout or nose area. Almost all dogs, the snout is shorter. In almost all dogs, the snout is shorter and wider than wolf snouts. Another crucial difference is the animal's manner and attitude towards humans. Dogs are genetically predisposed to want human attention and approval and to accept human leadership. Wolves are not. Because early dogs looked more like wolves than dogs do today, it can be difficult to distinguish between wolf and dog skeletons from the far past. But recently, a team led by paleontologist Mietje Germantre of the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Science reported a stunning new finding in the February 2009 issue of the Journal of Archaeological Science. Her team found a nearly complete fossil dog skull dating back 31,700 years ago. The skull found in the Goyet cave in Belgium could represent the change from wolf to dog. However, there is a large gap in time between the age of the Goyet cave dog and the next oldest dog-like skeletons from Western Russia, dating from 14,000 years ago. Was the appearance of the Goyet skull just an isolated event? What happened in between? We don't know. Another way to estimate when and where domestic dogs originated is to study the genetic differences between dogs and wolves from different locations. In 2009, Peter Savolainen of the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden published a genetic analysis of DNA indicating that dogs were first domesticated 16,300 years ago south of the Yangtze River in China. This was about the same time and place as the beginning of rice agriculture. In 2010, another team led by a biologist, Robert Wayne of the University of California, Los Angeles, came to a different conclusion. Using a larger sample of dog and wolf DNA, their genetic analysis showed that DNA from dogs overlaps more closely with that of Middle Eastern wolves, not of those in China. We know that dogs from the Middle East were closely associated with humans because they were found in ancient human burial sites, Wayne said. In one case, a puppy is curled up in the arms of a buried human. Wayne and his colleagues suggested that the dogs were first domesticated somewhere in the Middle East and then mated with other gray wolves across the globe. University of Victoria, Canada, archaeozoologist Susan Crockford, who did not take part in either study, suspects that searching for a single moment when dogs were domesticated is not useful. The process probably happened more than once. We have evidence that there was a separate origin of North American dogs, different from the Middle Eastern origin, says Crockford. This supports the idea of at least two birthplaces. I think we need to think about dogs becoming dogs at different times in different places, states Dr. Crawford. Okay. So this reading says that, there's really no proof of any of these things. I mean, not that there's no proof, that there's no conclusive evidence. Okay, the word conclusion, right? Conclude means to finish something. So there's no conclusive. That's the adjective form. I'm gonna try something today with you guys. I'm gonna write on my. Let's do a movie recording. Let's see if this works. Whoops. That's the wrong one. Let's try that again. Screen recording. Nope. Movie recording. Oh, yeah, there it is. Using my... Is that going to work? Jetfire. Here we go. Let's see what I can do with this. I need both screens, though. Alright, so they think about 20,000 years ago. Let's see. Let's draw a little timeline. Okay, and let's say this is now. Okay, and they say about 31,700 years ago. This was the Goyet cave. Where was this? In Belgium. Belgium. Still a little got the cold going, but getting better. And then 14,000 years ago, wait, we're dating in Russia, from Western Russia, dating 14,000 years ago. So let's put that 14,000 years ago. Put it like that. This is in Western Russia, not Eastern Russia, because probably that was more Asian. And then in Sweden, let's see, what did they say here? 16,300 years ago. And this was in China, right? Yeah, I guess I should put it up here. This is in China, Yangtze River, right? So yeah, one way that you can understand information better sometimes, I'm gonna put that all up here, is by using little graphs like this, charts. This is a timeline, right? Timeline of dog domestication. Why am I showing you this? I mean, we're just trying to figure out information, right? So we don't know. I mean, there was a point here. This could have been the oldest one in Belgium. This could have been the oldest one for China. And maybe there is no single point of domestication. Domestication of dogs. And what does that mean? That means that this happened in multiple places, right? Humans settled in different areas first, moved around. Dogs followed them. Once they settled, once they built homes, the dogs stayed, or the wolves stayed, and then they started changing, and then only the nice ones, you know. If a dog's like in front of your house and keeps biting you and trying to kill everybody, you kill it, right? You keep the ones that look nice. You start to learn that, okay, there's certain dogs that are nice and certain ones that are not. So, you know, there's like a wolf. He comes, he gets the food, he helps you somehow. Like he attacks other animals that come by. You leave it alone. You're not going to pet it. You're not going to bring it into your house. You're not going to let your babies play with that wolf. But eventually that wolf's going to get tame. And there's a cool video I want to show you guys. I guess I'll just send you the link. But I think it talks really well about the evolution of wolves by looking at foxes. Scientists, so always we do these main ideas, read each statement, decide if true or false according to the reading. All right. Scientists' investigation, and I got some of these wrong, sorry. Scientists' investigation of physical and genetic differences is central to the research about domestication of dogs, right? So we need to see kind of physically how dogs change. And we couldn't do that in the beginning because dogs and wolves look more similar. Their skeletons looked similar, right? But DNA, genetic differences, right, let us see that. So here we have DNA. It is easy for scientists to distinguish between dogs and wolves' skeletons from thousands of years ago. No, they were more similar. It is safe to say that dogs became dogs at least 31,000 years ago. I put false, thinking 20,000 was the word, but the true answer is true. This was Goyet Cave, right? It was hard to read yesterday and focus on you and the students in front of me. Sometimes I don't like face-to-face because there's too many distractions. Sleepy student. I have to stare at the sleepy student. Student doesn't understand. I have to help them. Then I have to look online to see if there's anything in the chat box. The natural evolution of the species depends on the success of scientists' intervention? No. It happens naturally. I mean, most of the time evolution happens as there's a need. Okay, there's a mutual benefit. Two parties, both sides benefit, right? We call that like a symbiotic relationship. You can talk about that in biology. So remember sim mean? Like together, to combine, Biotic means life, right? Um, yeah, usually what happens is two things help each other. They both feed each other. They both protect each other or something like that. And so they exist together. So all of the domesticated animals we have are there because, we needed them. Just like the cow. Did I talk about the cow and the plow? I hope that was in the first recording. But domestication of animals is the history of human civilization. Without it, we just didn't get anywhere far. And without it, we just didn't advance with technology, especially with food, things like that, being able to make food and, hunter gatherers, all of them had to hunt and gather. So they had no time to sit and think and then to have time to create inventions, to think about ways to improve our world, to think about law and stories and fiction and writing. If everyone's just hunting and gathering, then there's no space for somebody who wants to sit and think and read and philosophize, things like that, right? Wolf DNA does not help biologists in their dog and wolf research. I don't know. I guess I put false. Does not help. That's not really clear. This is like iffy to me. Yeah, like the DNA. Oh, because they're so similar. I don't know. When, where, when, and how gray wolves evolved into dogs is still open to interpretation. This is very true. Okay. And there might not ever be an answer or multiple answers, right? Sometimes A, B, and C are all correct. Okay. We looked at the close reading. And that's when we look at sentences and try to figure out what the sentence means, looking at different vocabulary words. Okay, so the answers are there, but dogs are genetically predisposed to want human attention. Okay, this word is like really important nowadays when we talk about diseases, things like diabetes, things like Alzheimer's, dementia, about cancers of different types. Based on your genetics, you're more predisposed to have certain diseases. Okay, it's kind of like it's a percentage, though. Some people are more likely, but if you live like a stress-free life, if you take care of yourself, if you don't have a lot of stress, that seems to be the most important thing about things like cancer, things about these predisposed genetic diseases, is that when we are in a stressed, a bad environment, a toxic environment, um, you know, we start to show these diseases. These diseases start to manifest, to come out. Okay. And so, yeah, same thing with dogs. The ones that we chose are genetically predisposed to want human affection. They choose humans as their leader, right? Humans want human, um, to accept human leadership. Wolves are not, right? So if you ever walk with your dog or you have a pet, the way I learned about dogs is you're the alpha leader in the dog pack. You're supposed to protect them and they protect you. So when the dog jumps in front and tries to attack somebody, it's protecting the leader, who is you. Okay, he's not in control. If you are a good dog owner, he knows that you're the leader. That you should also be able to take care of him, right? If he's in danger, the human steps in and protects their dog. That shows like this bond between the animals. And for some reason, these dogs don't see humans as like enemies or as food, right? So dogs are born with a desire for human contact. Yeah. In one case, a puppy is curled up in the arms of a buried human being. So buried. This is an adjective now because of the ed. We can put this in front of a human, a buried treasure, buried bones, buried something. I don't know, lots of things. This shows that human beings and dogs have a close, intimate relationship, right? This whole death ceremonies, these funerals, that's a really good way for historians, archaeologists to look at how humans evolved, what was important to humans at different times, kind of by looking at how we started to honor dead people, right? Most animals don't do this thing of burial, right? There are some other mammals that kind of have funeral ceremonies where they cry and they grieve and then they walk on. Elephants, I think, do this when an elephant dies. They all cry together. But yeah, humans, we have history of it, and so we bury, and when it's preserved, and we can find it again. So that's the job of archaeologists. Okay, lots of great archaeologists in Turkey, right? Lots of great sites everywhere, always being discovered, new ones. I think a new one was discovered in Milas. Um, this shows that humans were buried with their families. No, dogs weren't the family, but this shows that dogs have always aimed to please their master. Maybe. But I think that we cared about them more, right? So it's not that it's not true. A is the best answer, right? And this we don't really know. Like the dog shows that they've aimed to please. It's not stated. It's not stated. Okay, but this sentence it kind of gives us an inference. Okay, infer. What does infer mean? Okay, so infer means to deduce or conclude information from evidence and reasoning rather than from explicit statement. So it's not saying it directly, it's saying it indirectly. So any inference, okay, is an indirect evidence that you can see, that you have to use your critical thinking skills, your brain, in order to do such a thing. My door just slammed. Okay, we didn't read this yesterday, but let's go over these. Let's do this reading. And let's look at the context of these words. Okay, write these meanings about the words. What do you think these mean? Some estimate. We do not know exactly when human beings first walked. Oh, sorry. Let's read the title, of course. The domestication of dogs, making dogs into friendly helpers. We do not know exactly when human beings first walked on the earth. Biologists and archaeologists believe we have to go back some 6 million years ago. Some. Do we have to go like parts of 6 million years? Is it, is it, do you want some cake? No, it's not that kind of some, right? This one is talking about like around, right? Go back around 600 million years ago. So not exactly, we don't know the exact date, but we can assume, we can guess. They estimate the number of years based on the fossils and stone tools that have been found at certain archaeological sites. Okay, so estimate, they guess. This is the answer, anyways. But when you make an estimate of something, right, you're not just blindly guessing. You're not saying, "Hey, how old are you?" and you're like 15. You're using evidence. Okay, so I'm gonna say this is an evidence-based guess. Evidence with evidence, right? Scientists don't just do things without evidence. They look at things, they look at bones, they look at other things around. Sorry, this is so blurry. At certain archaeological sites, archaeological places, right? Locations, things like that. The information that different scientists have gathered about when the domestication of dogs took place is also not exact. So what does domestic mean? Domestic means of the home, right? We're making something kind of familiar or like that we can live with. Okay, so if you have a domestic problem, it's a problem in the house, right? And we'll talk about that with the Greek words and things like that. Greek and Latin. Nevertheless, despite the gaps that exist between one finding and another, right? Gaps like the spaces. If you have a gap in your brain, there's like a hole, space. Let's just put space or a hole, right? If there's a gap in your brain or your memory, it means something you forgot, So we use this word gap when we're talking about those kind of things. Despite the gaps that exist between one finding and another, all the information we have is crucial. Crucial. What does that mean? I don't know. To our understanding of the evolution of both human beings and animals. Okay, it is generally agreed that dogs were first tamed by man in the Neolithic era. Okay, I would say that they were starting to get tamed, not by humans, but that they started to kind of uh, understand, how to exist next near humans, right? Just like you have neighbors, just like different animals like coexist with each other. Sometimes they eat each other. Sometimes they are part of this food chain in which one animal eats another, and one other, you know, kills another thing. The whole circle of life. Tame. Okay. I don't know, to become calm or to be. I'm tired. It's gonna be a long day today and tomorrow. Need more sleep. I had a heavy backpack yesterday. I just walked around the entire city. That was a terrible idea. I guess it was a good workout, but I'm still tired. By man in the Neolithic era. Okay. So era. You probably heard this before. There's different eras. We can say this is the end of an era. After some big event happens. I'm gonna say something like time, right? When human beings started to abandon the nomadic life and settle in one place. The fact that dogs evolved from wolves is commonly accepted. Evolved, right? So you can evolve from something. Um, I don't know. Lizards evolved from dinosaurs or reptiles, right? Dinosaurs that we have. However, since wolves still exist, it is important to understand that only those wolves predisposed to enter into relationships with humans eventually became the dogs that we have today. So, just like there's some nice human beings in this world, not so nice, there's kind people, there's people that are not violent or less violent. In our own human DNA pool or gene pool, we have people that are just naturally more empathetic. It's like a genetic disposition. It's also practice, obviously. So some of these dogs, they learn from watching other dogs that if you act nice like this, that you'll get food. And so, or if you act cute, lots of animals actually know how to act cute now, right? It's just like a Pavlov thing. If you blow the whistle, the dog comes, starts salivating. If you know to do like this to somebody, then they your parents. You learned this from your parents, right? You acted cute. They like gave you a hug. They say, "Oh, you're so cute," Those are those learned responses that we have living with other creatures, other humans, other animals. Only those wolves predisposed to enter into relationships with humans eventually became the dogs that we have today. As research shows, when and where this transformation occurred is not clear because it is difficult to distinguish between early dogs and wolves in the fossil record. Okay, so fossils are like another word for bones. It could also not be the bone, but it could be like the remains, the shape, like on a stone or something. So distinguish, okay, is to like tell something apart. I couldn't distinguish this from that. I looked at her. I couldn't distinguish her. And there's an adjective, tell apart, tell. There's an adjective, distinguished. And we talk about people who are distinguished as looking kind of like cool or royal or something. Like a distinguished gentleman means like he's wearing like a nice suit. He looks really like fancy, like very noble, royal or something. Their physical difference was not as obvious in prehistoric times as it is now. Without stunning proof to the contrary, it seems reasonable to accept the idea that dogs may have emerged in many different places on Earth. Without stunning, that's not a good choice of words here. Whenever I write something like word choice on your essays, okay, it means that I don't think you chose the best word, okay? And you might say, well, the meaning is the same. Meaning, connotation, usage. Some words are used only in science. Other words are very formal. Okay, it's a word choice. You got to figure out. You gotta just kind of get the feeling for this. If you see a word often used with like informal speaking between people, okay, like gonna, okay, you'll use it for that. But you don't use that, when you're talking to your teachers or you're trying to impress somebody, right? Or you're going to an office and you're going to work or something, okay? Without stunning proof without, I don't know, extraordinary proof. This is like something high, right? It's we have this ing, like amazing, right? Those kind of present participle adjectives, okay, that describe what an object kind of gives out to the world, okay? And so these are some of those guess words that they had, and we're gonna try to do this thing. So let's go ahead into our something, our word wall. Awesome. Hey, word wall. I like that. Interesting. Word wall. Okay. Just moved that. And so this is one of those activities. I hope that you got the link for it. Let's play it with all the music and everything. Differences, disparities. Recognize the difference. Okay. Distinguish. Very impressive. Stunning. You did a stunning job. Usually we use this with people and like, you look stunning tonight. Okay. You stunned me, like a gun that like shocks you, right? If you look at a beautiful person, then they're stunning. Trained a wild animal to obey. Okay, domestication or tamed. I don't know. Oh, okay, trained. Okay, so I'm gonna say tamed is here. Locations. We knew as sites. Periods in history, era, so time. Domestication is the act. Okay, whenever you see something acation, nationalization, the act of doing something. That's what it means. Okay. What is another one? Education, the act of educating people. Right. Guess is an estimate, to estimate something. Approximately, some. Sorry. Very important, crucial, and predisposed, tending to behave in a particular way. All right, so look at that. Do you agree with my answers? Go ahead, think about it, pause it, do it yourself. I'm gonna include all the links from now on if we're doing hybrid classes, right? Gotta do that. I'll just throw it onto the Miro. Everything needs a QR code now, Bob. And yeah, tomorrow, if you're watching this on Thursday, we'll also be doing hybrid with writing. That's going to be a little bit more difficult for me since my writing class is probably very different from other writing classes. But we'll see. So let's get back to this. I'm going to throw this QR code in for all of you out there. I can zoom in with it. I'm going to lock it as I always do. And yeah, those are the answers if you need the answers. But yeah, somehow we found this animal, the dog. Okay. And it's probably the most empathetic animal in the history of the world. That's why we call it man's best friend. I don't think there's any other animal. Cats sometimes are, right? But cats aren't always like so loving and affectionate, right? Dogs, if you treat them very well, you train them well, they can feel your feelings. We have comfort dogs, right? These therapy dogs that you can go and pet them, and they're supposed to kind of feel your sadness for you and help you overcome that. And they can't do it for very long. Like after a while, they just need a rest because they're taking on so much emotion. This is like kind of that oxytocin, the emotional bonds. But there's no other animal. We don't have therapy cats, do we? That doctors actually use. So there's like a really special connection between dogs and humans. Okay, and this is kind of why They have been such a part of our culture. I think cats are just smart. They're just going to take over the world someday. And they know how to get food. They know how to be cute to get it. Okay. And I'm going to show a video before we get out of this. And I think I finished it on the third part that I recorded yesterday. The recording sounded okay. The audio was okay. But this one, for some reason, was like stuttered. Okay. So this is important. I just didn't want to talk about it in class because it's a little boring. But the gray wolf is the Canis lupus. Okay. Canis means dog. Lupus means wolf. And I think lupus. Lupine. Does it mean the moon as well? The wolf. Let me look up lupus. It's also disease, right? From literally means wolf. Wolf. Latin genitive word lupus. Lupus. Also a disease you get from hiking outside. The wolf that was most inclined to evolve into the Canis lupus familiaris was most inclined. It was like had a tendency. If I am inclined to take a nap after lunch, well, that's something I usually do. It's my tendency. I tend to do that. Okay, inclined. Learn some new words, put them in your Quizlet. I know we haven't talked too much about Quizlet, but let's do it. Evolved into the Canis lupus familiaris, belonging to a family or household or domesticated dogs. Okay, so we add this thing on top of this. So, and remember, like it said, dogs and wolves can still have babies, and I think those babies can exist. So those are almost the same species. It's just a slight change in the species, right? The Latin names make the close relationship between wolves and dogs immediately clear. Okay, so this has the same part. It just adds on the familiaris. Scientists classify plants and animals and many other things by using Greek and Latin names and roots. This tradition goes back to the Middle Ages, when early scientists used Greek and Latin to communicate with each other. Okay, so there was a common language people could use between each other. Now it's English. Sorry, but we could have been speaking Greek and Latin. But Latin is pretty much a dead language. It was only originally used by religious people. Okay, like Bibles and Bibles were written in Latin. Just like, the Quran is written in Arabic, and so that became the common language for people, especially for writing or reading, if you wanted to, be part of a religious leadership or something. Okay, so Latin bis, to, bicycle, right? Oh, give you the answer. Canis, dog, domesticus, relating to the home. Okay, so the word domestic. Whoops. Look at my stuff. Okay, relating to running of a home or to family relations of or for use in the home rather than in industry. Domestic, tame and kept by humans, domestic cattle of a person fond of family life and running a house. She was not at all domestic. This is an adjective that describes somebody, right? Do you want to be a domestic person? It means you stay at the house, you clean, you cook, all that things. I'm pretty domestic. All right, create, produce, give birth to, generation, right? Kind of the birth of all people in one generation. Habilis, handy, able, right? Without the H, maybe the H is silent. Homo means man, okay? Lupus means wolf. So Latin, it means man. I think in Greek, homo means, I'll write Greek up here. Homo means the same, right? It's the word homogeneous, homogeneous or homogeneous, however you want to say it. Oh, man. Greek. This would be the same if we were talking about Greek, but we're not. Lupus, wolf, ped means foot. Okay, centipede. Oof, what it has 100 feet, less than 100. Millipede, those insects, right? Pedalus. I don't know how to say that. A foot in length. Sapiens, wise, able to reason. So the Greek root ped means child, and is part of words like pediatrician. Okay, ooh, that's nice. So ped in Latin is foot. Okay, sometimes pod. Okay, so podiatrist is a foot doctor. Um, and pediatrics, is the study of like children's medicine. Okay, so child. That's interesting. There's so many these words. So English. Podium, you stand at it, right, with your foot. Podiatrist, okay, is a person who treats the feet and their ailments. Okay, podiatry, pod from the Greek word foot. Okay, so that's podiatry. But pediatrician, pediatrics, let's say, is the relating to the branch of medicine dealing with children and their diseases. So this ped here is from the Latin, okay, for foot, after the modern Latin. Oh, sorry, not foot. Of child. This is, it says Greek. Liars. Who knows? Anyways, pediatrician, a doctor for children. Okay, this ped it changes to pod as well. So podai. How do I spell that? Jesus. Podiatrist. That's a D. Oops. It's easier when you go in. Podiatrist. So many words, right? If you ever go abroad and you need a podiatrist or a pediatrician, and you can speak English, then great. You can get help. So get help. Work with the partner, look at the timeline showing the stages of human development. Guess what characteristics these human beings had. Use the Latin and English charts for help. Okay, so Homo habilis, handy, able. Maybe they started to be able to use tools, right, with their hands. Use tools, maybe. I don't know. To use tools. Homo erectus means what? Erectus means to stand up, upright. These maybe started to walk. So maybe these were less more monkey-like. They were on their hands and their feet, right? Often, Homo erectus probably was standing mainly on two. I'm going to use the text tool. Why am I doing this? Stand on their 2 feet. No walking with hands. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever practiced these monkey walks. It's a new thing. I like doing it. It gets my arms and shoulders stronger. But you kind of walk with 4. You try to run on all 4 legs. 4 legs. Your feet and your hands. Homo sapiens, right? This is when people start getting what? Able to reason. I would say probably when art comes around, Humans are able to reason, imagine, okay, think, create, blah, 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 right? So yeah, we start using tools, and obviously this one uses tools, and this one uses tools too, right? Homo erectus also stands on 2 feet, so it kind of cascades down. Does it tell us the answer? Nice. Being able to work with his or her hands is handy. Use tools. I guess that's the same as using tools. Use their hands. Can walk upright, wise, who can reason, wise, right? Guess the meaning of these with the Latin roots, the meaning of these English words with Latin roots. Use the Latin and English charts for help. Ability, right? Being able to be handy. I'm not going to fill this in. Able to generate, to create, right? Bicycle, 2 wheels, cycle. Circle. Pediatrician. Is that how you spell it? Oh, pedestrian. So this one's different, right? A pedestrian, and there's cars, there's a pedestrian. Is anybody who can walk, who walks, people who walk on the streets. Lots of pedestrians in the city, people who walk on the streets, in the towns, in cities. Okay, you can be a pedestrian. It also kind of means common stuff. So if you jokingly, and this is kind of slang, but if you're like, oh, that's so pedestrian, it means that it's basic. Familiarity. Okay, it's not always about the home, right? But when we say somebody's familiar, it means that they're like us. And I think in the past, we didn't have like friends all over the world. We just had our little tribe, our village. Okay, so if you were familiar with somebody, they looked like you, then you assumed that they were family, right? I'm going to open this up, being well known to you, okay? Like family. Maybe they look like you. And this is the thing. Humans, when people look different from us, very, very different, we see a threat. It's normal. It's like part of our human evolution that we've done this. But it's our ability as Homo sapien to be able to reason and to move away from that, right? But this is a normal thing, okay? When you see a person, a human being that looks very different from you, you assume that they are a threat, okay? Read the definitions of words using Greek and Latin roots. Did they teach us the Greek ones? Why are they? Sorry. Read the definition of words using Greek and Latin roots. Okay, anthropology, the study of primitive human social organizations. Okay, the word ology, okay, means the study of. So ology. So whenever you see that, let me do that again. Okay, the study of something. Archaeology, the study of. Zoology, the study of. Biology, the scientific study of. Why is it scientific? They're all scientific. The study of. This is not genealogy. Genealogy is another thing. Genealogy is the study of descending, how people are related to each other. Okay, paleontology, right? And yeah, it's giving us a definition. Anthropology is the study of primitive human social organizations. Someday we'll look at our society, and somebody 1,000 years from now will do some anthropology about us and how strange we were. The study of long gone civilizations, archaeology, by examining what remains of their buildings, graves, and tools, right? So these people look at the buildings, okay, things left behind. Archaeozoology, the study of animal remains from archaeological sites. So these people are looking at bones and things like that. Maybe even people. The scientific, so zoo means animal, right? Zoo. Biology, the study of living things, bio. Archaeology. What does archaeology mean? I mean, what does it mean, but I want to see what the root means. The root. Latin archaeological, from ancient history. Archaeos is ancient. Archaeos. Okay, the study of the ancients, basically. The study of human reproduction, genetics, right? Paleontology, the study of prehistoric times by examining fossils. Ancient animals and plants that have been preserved in rocks. So the skeleton is not there anymore, but somehow it gets pressed into the rock and the shape remains, you know? But what does that mean? Paleontologist. Okay, it comes from paleo. Oh, remember? Old beings. On, inai, be. I don't know. I guess paleo means something like old, though. Older or ancient. Okay, paleontologist. I don't know what the ontology. Oh, ontology. What does that mean? Being. Yeah, that's what it says. Ontology is also like a type of medicine, looking at your insides. prehistoric, paleo, right? Neolithic, the more recent. Paleolithic, the earlier periods. Ancient. Oh, cool. Okay, I learned something new. Always. Anthropology, humans. Okay, archaeology, something old, but not too old, because that's paleo. Let's skip that one. E, life. Skip out G. Lith means stone. Neolithic, Stone Age, right? Talk about caveman. Neo, Leo, New, C. Paleo, I think means old as well. Ologist, a person who, right? A one who studies, a person who studies. Ology is the study of, so I'm going to put A there. Gen means to produce something new. Okay, so now I don't know. Archaeology, source or beginning, or old. I'm going to say this is old. Palean. Ancient is another word for old. Ancient. I'm going to stop after this. Actually, I'm going to send you guys a video, then we'll stop. About the fox. Let's see if I'm right. Come on, Mr. Bub. Number 2 is F. Yes. E, I, C, B, E. Nope. Where's D? A, H. Wait, what? Did I write the wrong? I just wrote the wrong thing. Happens. Your teacher's a human. The study of. Sorry. No. This is D, the one who studies. There we go. We're not going to do reading number 2. I'm just going to give you these answers. So if you read and took notes, then great. We're talking about go back to the reading and read it again. Circle each expert's name and circle and the field of study. Underline his or her findings so far, then fill in the organization. Okay. We talked about Mitte German paleontologist found dog skull in Goliath Cave. Peter Savion, genetics, collected DNA. Evidence shows first domesticated dogs 16,300 years ago. Robert Wayne, biology, found DNA from dogs overlap from closely with Middle Eastern dogs and not Chinese wolves. And Susan Crockford, archaeozoology, has decided that dogs became dogs at different times in different places. Not useful to designate one specific time for the domestication of dogs, right? Because there's evidence that human civilization came at different places, different times. Most believe that humans originated from Africa, from Ethiopia area, and they spread from there. But when we talk about civilizations popping up, okay, well, they happen at different times. They happen at different speeds. The domestication of animals happens at different times. And it's about an hour into this. What was I going to say? So I know you guys did the reading task A, about your book, extensive reading. I will get to that soon. There's been a lot on my plate. And not to say it's not important, but it's like I can get to that soon. And I'll do that before I do your grading for your final essay for cause and effect. Your task 1. You'll have another essay coming up afterwards, okay? You can go ahead and do all these other readings. I will not look at this. The text, our schedule says we're going to skip these, but domesticating wolves, I think would be interesting to read about. Okay. And then the third reading would be Frisky to the rescue in Hurricane Katrina. So how dogs have been used as, to rescue people, right? We have rescue dogs, we have police dogs, we have all sorts of dogs for different purposes now. They're just like a big tool that we can train and use for different things. Water dogs, and I don't know if you saw the class yesterday, but I'm going to send a link to these videos as well. Oh, and then I need to find one more video. Let's see if it's in there somewhere. Nope, that's my YouTube. Nope, that's stuff. I like this one. Where's the fox one? Okay, I don't like. This one's like weird.
The differences between dogs.
That like computer voice, you know. How we domesticate cats. Where's the fox one? Oh. I think you guys should watch this. I think it's really cool. It kind of tells us about how wolves were domesticated. Foxes were
Fox number
domesticated.
1. So
How foxes were domesticated. I'm not going to show it to you. I'm going to put this in the link in the Miro as well. Think it's a pretty cool way to examine how possibly dogs got domesticated, and that maybe some animals can never be domesticated. Like the raccoon, they've tried to domesticate it. It's just too smart. An animal kind of has to be stupid for us to domesticate it, you know? We don't think about cows as being smart. Pigs are smart, but we don't think about them as smart often. We give them stupid characteristics. You know, horses, we think of them as working hard, kind of like, ooh. I'll send you all of this. And thank you again. Sorry about these recordings yesterday. Please watch this video, learn more about our man's best friend, and kind of this idea of how we are evolving, how we have predispositions. Okay, think about the traits in humans. Think about traits that we have as humans. Okay, and why we have them. Why there's certain things like anxiety, depression, things like that. There's a reason why all of these things exist in humans, and at certain times they're very important for our survival. Okay, and maybe not so much anymore because we don't have to fight off wolves anymore. We don't have to run away from lions. You know, we still have them built into our body and into our genes, into our society, and so we have to figure out ways that as we become modern and we think about the world in different ways, our safety is obviously different than what it was 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago. But our bodies still react the same way to stress, you know. So the stress of an essay, an examination, is very similar, they say, to the stress of an animal going to attack you. So you start to get nervous, you start to sweat. All of those things are supposed to help you to react better, you know. And if you can't control those reactions, then the wolf kills you, you know. And if you can't control those reactions, that stress will kill you, and that essay will, you know, not be done well. The essay obviously won't kill you, guys. But our stress will kill us if we just constantly believe that we're under threat. So I guess that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned about stress is it's normal. It's a part of our system. But modern society is not normal. So we need to figure out ways that we can manage our stress, especially for these stressful times that we're living in. For you as students with examinations and not knowing how to do things and doing things for the first time, it's normal that stress sometimes is good. No, stress is good for you. It can be good. Okay, when it gets out of hand, when you can't control it, that's when it becomes a disorder or a disease, right? Anxiety is good for us. It makes us worry about something. You're supposed to be thinking about your essay, you know, but you're not supposed to be thinking about your essay 24 hours a day that you can't sleep, right? You can't be thinking about your assignments and things like that. You're going to have to learn how to turn off. That's what families are for. That's what friends are for. That's what going outside is for. That's what exercise is for. So I think for some people, socializing helps, and think for other people, you know, art, exercise, you know, I would say Netflix and social media are not good answers, unless you're watching like a movie for a purpose, like a really good artistic movie. You know, you're learning something deeply from it, but that's not what social media, Instagram is about, right? It's not about long 2-hour things. It's about dopamine. Get your dopamine, everybody. All right, that's enough life lessons from Bob. Thank you so much. I'm going to upload all of these and, learn about reading stuff, about prehistory, about how wolves evolved into dogs. Bye, everybody.